Oh boy. I'm sorry if you can hear my AC, it's being so loud right now. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary, and today's video is going to be me reading 1-star reviews of books that I gave 5 stars to? Question mark? I should have told you that I loved you one more time. So I've seen a lot of people do this style of video, but they usually do like their favorite book or things like that. I just picked 5 books of a variety of genres that I read at a variety of times in my life that I gave 5 stars to and that I remember enough about to speak on, kind of. I also picked books that do not have a very like high Goodreads rating because I thought there would be more like diversity of opinion for those books rather than just picking the 1-star review of like a beloved book, if that makes sense. So the first book that we're going to be talking about, or that I'm going to be reading 1-star reviews of, is Will Grayson by John Green, which is honestly it's my favorite John Green book. It's also by David Levithan, is that his name? It basically follows this teenage boy it's 2 teenage boys, and both of their names are Will Grayson. That's all you really need to know. They have all sorts of trials and tribulations. I love this book. Let's see what the 1-star reviews said. I will say this has an average rating of 3.75 stars, and it has 355,000 ratings and 18,700 reviews. So of those reviews, 671 of them are 1-star. Oh no, 13,857 people gave this book 1 star, and there are 671 1-star reviews. Review number 1 is from a DNF. It says, I'm calling Chris on this one early. This is not even remotely enjoyable for me. It starts out with a bad tone as one of the Wills keeps fat shaming Tiny, who according to John Green's website is the actual main character. And then it just goes downhill so fast. The only thing I liked about the pages that I read was the Neutral Milk Hotel references, but even that is slightly ruined by how Manic Pixie John's writing manages to make them sound. Neutral Milk Hotel deserves better, okay? I will say I think that was a conscious choice, because Neutral Milk Hotel was like the band that all the indie soft kids listened to back before they were called indie soft kids when I was in high school, and they were just called like hipsters, you know what I'm talking about? But anyways, that's fine. Anyways, then she goes on to say there's also the immediate issue of one of the Wills' way of speaking about Jane with the whole she's not the kind of girl I usually go for because her hair is too curly and she hangs out with boys. Like, what? Is that seriously a reason to not like a girl? Okay. And then she says, this is probably a good time to mention that I've now read 6 of John Green's works and only liked his portrayal of one female character, and that was Hazel Grace. So, T-Fires is definitely the book that like kind of put John Green on the map. I think a lot of people really liked that book. What I will say is that book is told from Hazel Grace's perspective. This isn't about T-Bios, but that book was told from Hazel Grace's perspective, which I think is why maybe she liked the portrayal of that character better, because the character got to be more filled out. Whereas the other female characters that John Green writes into his stories, he writes the stories about male characters or from the perspective of male characters, and they're teenage boys. And so they're usually, like in this, it's Will Grayson. And she was saying she didn't like the way that he speaks about Jane because she doesn't think it's a good enough reason not to like a girl. But I do think that's, shut up. I do think that's like valid for especially the age, because I think he's supposed to be like 16. And I think there's all kinds of reasons that 16-year-old boys think they don't like certain girls. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents. I don't really care what other people think. I understand. I should have said this in the intro. I do understand the books are very subjective, and I do understand that everyone has different opinions on books, and I think that's totally great, totally fine if we all like the same things, then there would only be a certain number of books, and that would be boring, so I'm glad that a lot of people like a lot of different things. I just thought this would be fun. Someone else said, one Will is straight, the other is gay. Don't waste your time on this book. It's true. This person said, artificially inflated by the Greens' ubiquitous little girl empire. For Christ's sakes, Hamlet only has a 3.9. Well, Hamlet's also a play and not a book, and most people have to read it for school. And I will say, I picked one of these books that I did have to read in school, and I think a lot of people have to read in school, and I do think that puts a damper on people's opinions of books sometimes. But anyways, that's unrelated. We'll get to that later. This one says, nope, I definitely did not like this book. I found it boring, bland, and pointless. Sure, the characters were interesting and unique, but I just found myself really struggling with the motivation to read it. In fact, I stopped reading it completely. I do not recommend it. Okay. yeah. So that's all I'm gonna read for this one. There were some valid things that people didn't like in them, and then also thinking a book is boring is valid. But we will move on to Heartspring Mountain by Robin MacArthur. And this has a This has an average rating of 3.61 stars. It has 11,000 ratings and 167 reviews. So there will not be very many 1-star reviews, I don't think. Yeah, there's like 8, excuse me. If you don't know what this book is about, I read this book in 2018, I think, or 2019, one of those years, but it's about this woman who had a falling out with her mom when she was way younger, and her mom started using drugs. She's originally from Connecticut, or Vermont, maybe? She's from somewhere in the Northeast. I always say Connecticut, but I have a feeling it's not Connecticut, it might be Vermont. Yes, Vermont. The daughter has moved to New Orleans, and that's where her life has been for the past however long. And then Hurricane Sandy hits, and she hears from her extended family that her mom has gone missing during the storm. And so she goes to Vermont to, like, find her mom. It's not really a mystery, so if that makes it sound like a mystery, it's not. It's, like, a story about struggling to forgive someone who has never apologized to you, and, like, just the story of basically this woman in her early 20s having to, like, come to terms with her past. But it also follows, like, layers of family trauma. So I thought it was really interesting. I really loved this book. It made me very emotional, and it made me feel like I have family from that area, not Vermont, but New Jersey, and it just felt very, like, reminiscent of things of stories that I've heard from, like, my mom growing up and stuff. So this review, oh no, from February 2018 says, if you like druggies and poor trashy folks, then this is for you. If you like drunks and displaced people, then this is for you. I never liked any character nor felt any emotion about the storyline. A waste of time. I mean, I think this is just a problem of this person not being able to empathize with other people who've gone through something that they haven't gone through, but we'll move on. We'll move on. This one says, what time period are we in? 1950, 1970, 1990, 2011? It jumps with each chapter in no discernible pattern. That is true. It did jump around in times, but it was well labeled, so I didn't find it too confusing. But anyways, this person said, I didn't get very far into this book. It seemed to be a depressing tale of heroin abuse in rural New England. I can just read the paper and get that kind of a story. I mean, I think that's true. And then this last one that I'm gonna read says, what a mess this was to read. So, again, I liked it, but that's gonna be a common theme through all of these. So, there's that. Next, I have a book that has a lot of reviews, I think. Yes. And it is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, which is my favorite book of all time. I had to read this for my freshman English class in high school, and I absolutely adored it. And I would highly recommend it to everyone. But I do have a feeling, yeah, there's 33,984 one-star reviews on this book. Or one-star, I guess, ratings. There's 610 one-star reviews. And I had a feeling that this would be kind of high just because I feel like a lot of people who have to read something for school don't love it. But the average rating of this is actually 3.85, which is not terrible. It has about 850,000 ratings and about 18,500 reviews. So, oh no. So this is from a DNF, and this person said, A Tale of Two Cities holds the dubious honor of being the first book I'd ever picked up and failed to finish. The very first. I don't know how old this person is, but you know, maybe it's a big thing. If you enjoy the little things like being sane and not hating life, then I recommend you never pick this up. Okay, that's not a very good read. Ooh, this one's long, so I might read parts of it, but we'll see. This person said that this was a painful beast of a book. It took me 5 attempts to get past page 100, and when I finally did break that barrier, I pressed on until the very end so that I didn't have to ever suffer again. So he doesn't like Charles Dickens. Dickens is a problem for me, I admit it freely. Fair. He got paid by the word instead of, like, whatever, because he used to publish his books in periodicals or in, like, newspaper type things. And so I get it's very wordy. I can understand why the writing style is kind of dense and not for everybody. This person says dry and boring all the way through. I disagree. This book is really, like, rich in its subject matter and its plots. It's very interesting to me. I understand that it's not for everybody. Fine. This person said it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, and it was the dullest of books. This book was so bad I had to go and revise my rating of Pride and Prejudice. At least that book had wonderful prose. Interesting, so he didn't like Pride and Prejudice either. That's one of my other favorite classics of all time. So, Someone said Herondale has shit taste in books. I don't know who Herondale is, but sorry you didn't like it. When you're cheering on Madame Defarge, you know you hate this book. I disagree. Madame Defarge is like a formidable villain to me. And I like her. So, we're gonna move on. Next, I have one of my favorite books of last year, and I was shocked to see that the average review on Goodreads for this is 3.26. It does seem to have the vast majority 3 and 4 stars, which I guess makes sense. But it has a good number of 2 stars too. It has 132 1-star reviews, or 1 stars, 44 reviews, excuse me, which is kind of a lot. Okay, that's a spoiler, so I won't do that one. But What Should Be Wild, I don't know if I've mentioned what any of these are about, really. What Should Be Wild is about this girl who is a cursed child. Her name is Maisie, and when she's born, she kills her mom because she has the ability to, when she touches something that's alive, it dies, and when she touches something that's dead, it comes back to life. And so she's basically raised by her father, and she's not allowed to touch anything because, for the aforementioned reasons. And then one day her dad goes missing, and so she goes to look for the woman who cares for her and finds out that she's dead. And then she has to go and figure out what happened to her dad. And she goes on this quest to find him. And you're also taken through the generations of cursed women before her that have all disappeared into the wood behind her house. So it's very dark fairy tale-esque. I loved this book. I loved it for a lot of reasons. I'll link videos to why somewhere. But this person said, once upon a time there's a girl and everything she touches dies, including her mother, while the girl was still in the womb, which is a great premise for a story, but somehow every other aspect of this fell flat for me. Lots of cliche, oh gosh, the boy who was trying to protect me the whole time actually was looking out for my best interests. And a ton of flashback history of the girl's family that didn't really have anything to do with anything in the end, concluded by the most anticlimactic non-ending ever. And she also says trigger warning for a ton of horrific animal violence. I don't know if I remember it being that. Okay, I won't say anything. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of cliches in this book. I'll give you that. Not a lot. There's one particular cliche, which is what that reviewer sort of mentioned and touched on. That if that bothers you, you probably wouldn't love it. That usually bothers me, and it didn't bother me in this case because I found the plot so interesting and the writing style so unique. So I didn't mind. Also, the flashback history of the girl's family is really important to the story. So I think if this person didn't like the ending, they just didn't like the plot, basically, which is fine. Again, you're allowed to not like the plot, but I thought it was brilliant. This person said, I gotta stop picking up books like this, literary novels masquerading as sci-fi fantasy, snooze fest. I think that's why I liked it. I wouldn't say that it's literary, but it's very light in its fantasy elements. It's very set in the real world and about things that are not just the magic system. There's not really a magic system. There's just this curse, if that makes sense. This person says, this is the worst book I've ever finished. Wow. This person said, I wanted to like this book. I really did. I'm a fan of female authors, and good reviews for What Should Be Wild often called it a feminist work. The premise was interesting and reminded me of one of my partner's favorite TV shows, Pushing Daisies. It also reminded me of Pushing Daisies, but I found out from, I think it's one of the Goodreads questions, someone says, is this similar to Pushing Daisies? And they say in premise, but it's not the same tone. So I think if you're going into it looking for a comedy or a mystery like Pushing Daisies, it's not like that. She said, at no point is this book darkly funny. It's dark. Beware of the long sections of gratuitous descriptions of violence and abuse towards the back of the book. But I didn't so much as chuckle at a single line. I did want to throw up a few times though. Interesting. The main character, Maisie, continually mentions how different she is. And it's true, at least in a literal sense. I think she was just talking about she felt so, I said I wasn't gonna get asked up. Okay, so Maisie talks about being different and feeling really alone and really different from people her own age because she's never allowed to go to school, she's never allowed to interact with anybody, so she feels really isolated, which I think is fair given her situation, but okay. This is interesting plot, poor narrative. I disagree. I liked the narrative, but obviously I disagree, whatever. This one says, what the? I kept waiting for it to make some sense, but honestly, it was just not really a coherent story. And usually I like weird, but this was not for me. See, this one just says no. Oh my god. Okay, I'm not gonna read any more of those, but I like weird too. So, again, I don't think I'd recommend that if you don't like weird. But I think if you like weird books, and you like light fantasy, or books that have magical realism or something in them, and dark fairy tales, I think you should give it a shot. Apparently a lot of people hate it, but I think maybe you'd like it. I don't know. The last one that I'm going to be doing is The Book of M by Pink Shepherd, which is, I'm not going to say yet, but it's definitely up there on one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. I absolutely loved this book. It's a sci-fi book. It's sci-fi dystopian about the end of the world or how the world ends. And It's about these people who one day, someone in India, just his shadow goes missing in the middle of the day, and it sort of causes this phenomenon, and then people realize that he's starting to forget things, and then weird things happen when you forget things, and then it starts spreading all over the world, so people are just losing their shadows, and then they start to forget. You follow a bunch of different perspectives, and the people who are forgetting sort of start feeling the urge to, like, they all start hearing these rumors about going somewhere. I don't know if it's a spoiler to say where. I don't think it is, but I'm not going to say it just in case. So they all start walking to a destination. This is different than books like The Stand or books like Wanderers. Definitely different than Wanderers because it was good. And Wanderers sucked. But in Wanderers, nobody knows where the people who start walking are going. And in The Stand, I don't think they know exactly where they're going either, but I could be wrong about that. It's been a while since I've read that one. But the long walk concept is one of my, like, favorite tropes. Also, just people randomly getting disease and dying. I love, like, the end of the world dystopians like this. But anyways, the average rating on Goodreads is 3.69. There are 13,000 ratings, 2,500 reviews, and 367 of those ratings are 1 stars, and 103 of the reviews are 1-star reviews. So we're gonna go through a few of these. This person says, yeah, this was not for me. It should have been a short story. Most of it was entirely unnecessary to the twist. It was meandering, nonsensical, trippy romance that literally told us not to worry about why or what or how at various points. And then it says, thought the characters' motives were impenetrable, the plot completely insubstantial, the writing merely passable, the reveals inscrutable, the action implausible, and the romance both sickly sweet and disgustingly selfish. And I disagree with all of that. So one of my favorite things about this book is 2 of the characters that it follows are a man and wife who were together when people's shadows started disappearing around them. They were away at a wedding in like a suburb of DC, or like outside of DC, but in the DC Metroplex. And they decided to just stay at this hotel and just wait it out. And now it's been a few years since that's happened, and Max, the wife, lost her shadow. And so a week ago she lost her shadow, and now she has left her husband because she thinks it's too dangerous for her to stay around him because of the weird things that happen when you start forgetting. And so she wants to leave before she starts forgetting. But the whole book is about her husband trying to find her. I thought it was beautiful. I understood the motives. I thought you follow multiple points of view. I thought some of the motives were unclear, but I thought it made sense why those motives would be unclear. Like the people who are shadowless, you don't really know why they're doing what they're doing, but neither do they because they can't remember. Also, I don't think the book was necessarily building up to the twist at the end. Like there is kind of a like shocker at the end of something that sort of happens, but it's not like something that you're waiting for the whole time. Like what I always think of when I think of like a twist is like if people are being murdered like in a mystery, it's not a mystery. That's not what it is. So to me, the whole story didn't need to build up to a twist because the twist wasn't the point. Also, the reason that people were like, it doesn't matter anymore why this is happening, I do understand why that's frustrating, and I know a lot of people are probably going to say that because I've seen that quite a bit already just when I was like writing my review, because this is the book that I read the most recently. And there were quite a few people who were like, I don't understand why any of this is happening, and neither did anyone else. But that's like beside the point. So I feel like what the author was trying to do, and this is all conjecture from my perspective, a person who loved this book, but I think they were trying to just like put you in this situation and there are no answers for you. Like we don't know why this has happened. We don't know what is even happening. We don't know why memories are suddenly tied to our shadows. We don't know why people's shadows would disappear. We don't know any of it. And so you're just supposed to like accept that. It's like when you're doing improv and you say yes and you just accept whatever the other random person has said. She also said, I'm sorry book, all your characters might have amnesia and concussions, but I sure don't. This person said, this book is wet hot garbage. This person said, the Book of M reads like the result of a creative writing workshop in which you pick a variety of disparate, I don't know how that's pronounced, sorry. Disparate plot elements out of a hat and are tasked with writing them in a cohesive way. I have absolutely no issue with apocalyptic events used as a plot device, but the story surrounding it needs to feel grounded in some sort of humanity and reality. Otherwise, it's all bets are off and you're left with this uncoordinated potluck of plot elements that are all competing to be the most fanatical. Unfortunately, that is the case of this novel. Wow. It said there's a lot of half-baked plot lines. I disagree. I liked the way that things tied together. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna try to find one more. Okay, so this is a different criticism. This one says, written for low reading ability readers, Pulp Fiction style. Characters are motivated by the plot rather than the other way around. Feels like it was made up as it goes along. Bad writing. I didn't think the writing was bad. Okay, so they said characters are motivated by the plot rather than the other way around. But I think that's like part of the beauty of it, is because like sometimes things happen to us in life and we can't control them. We can only control our reactions to them. So that feels realistic to me. I don't know. Let me know if you think that they meant something else. I don't know. I've been talking for more than 30 minutes, so I think I'm going to call it good on reading one-star reviews of books that I really enjoyed. I hope this video is at least a little bit entertaining for you to watch. Sorry I didn't get like really upset about most things. I did get a little assed up about a few of the more recent reads. Also, let me know, I'm thinking about doing a reading 5-star reviews of books I hated video, because I'm much more passionate about things I dislike than things that I like. I don't know what that really means about me. That's not true. I'm not really like passionate about things that I dislike, but I'm much more easily able to pinpoint things that I don't like about something than I am about things that I do like about something, if that makes sense. Like, I find it difficult to articulate why I like stuff, but I don't find it hard to say these are the things I didn't like. So if you would like to see that video, subscribe, because I'm going to do it whether you say I should or not. And also leave me a comment down below if you're interested. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see more videos from me, you can go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I do try to upload 2 videos every single week on Sundays and Thursdays, and I will see you in my next one. Bye! I should have told you